I love the MacBook Air. It's one of my favorite series of laptops of all time. And while normally I make videos saying that you should not wait around for something, team, today I'm going to do a 180. That was a 360. Because if the rumors are true and a 15-inch MacBook Air is coming out, well, you should absolutely wait for it. Pretty simply, the first reason to wait for an updated larger MacBook Air is right there in the description. It's a larger MacBook Air. The current 13-ish inch M2 MacBook Air, it's great. It's lightweight, it fits into any bag, it travels amazing. But I am somebody that travels a lot, and I'm now traveling for work at least a couple of times a month. The 13-inch screen leaves a lot to be desired. It's not the refresh rate or pixel density or anything like that that leaves it behind. It's that as somebody that needs multiple programs to get work done, more screen real estate equals better. It's just really hard to get work done from wherever when you've got a smaller display. Normally, if you do want a MacBook with the extra display capability, you have to get the MacBook Pro 16. It's a big, massive beast of a computer, and it's just not fun to travel around with. And I say that as somebody that has traveled around the country with my M1 MacBook Pro 16. You might also think that going from 13 to 15 inches on a screen isn't much. Even looking between the 14 and the 16-inch MacBook Pros today, that is a staggering amount of extra space. I've even seen some rumors state that the official screen size should be closer to 15.5 inches, meaning that this latest MacBook Air would be closer to the 16-inch MacBook Pro than a 14-inch MacBook Pro. And that right there, that's all that I need. Gary, that's all that Gary needs for a computer. But let's dig into a few other key things that this computer could have on why you should wait for it. Another thing that bigger size gets us is room for more speakers. And while I am not an audiophile by any stretch of the imagination, I think it's really clear that the more space Apple engineers are given for speakers and audio systems, the more magic they can work. Let's look at the MacBook Pro 14 and 16 speakers. The MacBook Pro 14 has a very nice sounding array that's better than anything else that I've used in the laptop world. And you take that and then you look at the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and that blows those out of the water, and it's not even close. I could imagine something similar happening here. The M2 MacBook Air that's currently on the market, it has perfectly fine speakers, but this time around, because of the additional space that we're working with, they decided to take the top firing speakers that we normally get on a MacBook, and they moved them around to the back. And this is fine, but it is a chassis limitation. So if we get additional chassis space, we should see the return of those top firing options. Combine that with an almost 16-inch chassis, we should have the best time listening to the songs from the FF7 Remix OST all the time, and seriously, that is one of the best albums ever made. Not only will this extended size body give us screen, audio, and hopefully typing improvements, I waggle, I'm kind of a keyboard nerd, but all that space also gets us more space. Fancy that, right? What that space means in a laptop like this is more room for passive cooling. The recent MacBook Airs, both the M1 and the M2, do not have fans in them, something of which I actually really like that a lot. But it does limit the kind of power Apple can put in a computer like this because physics exists. It does. It's just, I can't argue away physics. Heat needs to dissipate somewhere before you're affecting the performance of your machine. And I think the current MacBook Airs do pretty darn well in that regard, given their small footprint. The best part of that is I don't think it would be that far of a stretch of the imagination to think that a larger heatsink could provide two things. One, you get more thermal headroom if you get the base model and, I don't know, want to use the productivity laptop as a sick gaming rig. Spoilers, you would not do that, by the way. Or two, provide the ability to have a stronger processor in here, say the M2 Pro family of chips, because of the added cooling flexibility. I honestly don't know which way they'll go, but if the smaller Airs are as well thermally managed as they are, minus the trying to run multiple strenuous benchmarks in the middle of a humid summer afternoon, I'm really excited to see what a larger offering could do. We already talked about the M2 Pro chips, and yes, the potential power upgrade is another exciting thing about the new MacBook Airs, but you don't really buy a MacBook Air to be a power machine. If you do, why? Don't buy these to be a power machine. And I don't think upgraded power is a reason to wait. I'm only saying this now because if I don't, somebody in the comments will mention it. So I thought of it, but if you want raw power, go with a MacBook Pro. Don't go with a MacBook Air. But one of the potential reasons to wait does hinge on an M2 Pro variant, and that's external display support. Having an M2 Pro inside of a MacBook Air would make it a perfect laptop from both a travel computer that fits into my satchel perspective, but also from a computer that plugs into everything at my desk wherever I am perspective. One of the biggest limiting factors from the M1 and frustratingly the M2 MacBook Airs is the handicap of Thunderbolt 3. It's not really Thunderbolt's fault, it's Apple native's processor's implementation of Thunderbolt 3 that's at fault. Wow, that was a lot. That was a lot to say right there. You only get one external display with the M1 and the M2 MacBook Airs, which sucks. We've already seen via the M2 Pro MacBook Pro 14 and 16 that the M2 Pro does have at the very minimum Thunderbolt 4 with display support for two 6K external displays. I doubt the new MacBook Air would have an HDMI port, so you would be missing out on that third display that the M2 Pro processor provides. If we could get an M2 Max processor in this latest MacBook, and I do think that would probably be very difficult to manage based on the heat conversation from earlier, we could get up to 3 external 6K displays. All of that to say, an M2 Pro 15-inch MacBook Air would finally be the first MacBook to really check every single box of size, power, but most importantly, usability in every situation. Another reason I'm saying to wait for this laptop would be the price. I do think Apple is in a bit of a pricing pickle right now with their entire MacBook lineup, where you've got refurbished M1 MacBook Pro 14s coming in at prices so low, it almost invalidates the rest of their computer lineup. But I think a reason to wait is I think the base model MacBook Pro 15 from a historical perspective would probably come in around the $1,500 mark. And yes, I know I am totally guessing here without any rumor or really solid footing to base my assumption here, but that's the price that makes the most sense to me, and what makes that a reason to wait is this again will be the first larger MacBook that you can buy that you don't have to pay for all the bells and whistles that you might not want to use. Do you care about a super fast refresh rate monitor when you are plugged in externally all the time? Well, then why spend $500 additional on a laptop that has it? Do you care about the most powerful chips Apple has? If not, why pay for a computer that can upgrade to have all of those? Do you care about ports and versatility if you only ever use USB-C connections? The point I'm trying to make is that a larger MacBook Air would allow you to pay for specific things that you want instead of paying for a very expensive laptop that has niceties that you might not actually want, but they just come along as part of the overall package. And finally, what could potentially be the best reason to wait for the rumored 15-inch MacBook Air, the battery life. Team, I'm really excited to see what longevity looks like on a bigger MacBook Air. For my comparative analogy here, I want to look at the iPhone 14 Max. It's essentially the 15-inch MacBook Air of the iPhone world. It has a less intensive screen, less powerful chip, and a bigger body compared to the standard options it's ranked against, the standard iPhone. With those three things together, the iPhone 14 Max has the single longest battery life of any iPhone currently on the market, including the very powerful and very expensive iPhone 14 Pro Max. Giving a MacBook Air a bigger chassis with a less capable screen, lower end processor, but space for a much bigger battery could give this hypothetical MacBook ludicrous lengths of life. Seriously, we're currently at what, 18-20 hours with MacBooks today? I could see a larger MacBook Air going 25 plus hours of life, essentially making it a computer that you might only need to charge once per work week. As somebody that hates carrying around a bunch of extra junk, i.e. charging cables, batteries, power adapters, that is music to my ears, even if it's music that I'm making up because it's a rumor, but it's still music. I like it. But what about you? I've laid out all the things that I'm excited for and reasons that I would recommend waiting for this latest MacBook. Are you waiting? Are you excited for this? Let me know in the comments below because I would love to hear what everybody else's thoughts are on a 15-inch MacBook Air. And if you like this video but you need something today, click here to learn more about the current M2 MacBook Air. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.